Hi, welcome back guys. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm really excited for today's conversation. We're having a very special guest today. His name is Johan van Stade. But before we jump into this conversation, I just want to give a brief introduction of who he is. So Johan is an admitted attorney. He's also a conveyancer and notary public. He was a practicing attorney for 3 years before he joined the lecturing team at Gawie Roux. He presents some of the revision classes that prepares candidate attorneys for their competency-based exams. He's also part of the PVT schools where he lectures two of the courses there. So I'm really excited for him to join us today to really speak about the legal profession, because the idea is to really put out information out there for some young legal practitioners that don't know what is happening. They just chose law and they found themselves here, and it's really good to speak to people that have been in the legal profession for some time. Johan, good morning. How are you?
Morning, McDonald. Lucky you, man.
I'm good. Thank you, man. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This is, I must say, one of the biggest honors that I've ever had in this profession. So to be on a podcast, that's a bucket list item for me. Now I can happily tick that bucket list item.
No, thank you, man. Johan, something that really piqued my interest when I was looking at your profile and what you've done over the couple of years is your transition from practice into academics, particularly because it takes so much work and so much time. You put in so much time for one to become an admitted attorney. You go through years of getting your degree. You then have to go through articles. You have to go through board exams before you get admitted. I can imagine how much more it takes for one to also become an admitted notary and conveyancer. Why the transition? What really sparked the interest for you to transition from practice into academics?
Well, that's a fair question, and it's one that I've thought about a lot in my life, because if I stuck to practice, I would have been a multimillionaire by now, which is, I can still achieve that at some point in time in my career, but I'm not there yet. So no, for me, it was always at heart. I was always a teacher. From the get-go, since I can remember, it was fun for me to listen to people and to try and convey that message to other people. Till this day, I still watch random YouTube videos about how things work, and then I go and try and explain it to as best as I can to my wife. So it's just an inherent thing that's part and parcel of who I am. And then when I was in practice, I felt like, is this what I want to do with the rest of my life? And that's not the case for everyone, but that was the case for me. I was like, let's see, this is a repetitive, same day in, same day out. And then this opportunity arose. I saw a random advertisement. I think it was in the Rebus that Gawie was advertising, and I thought to myself, oh, maybe I can give this a go. And we had a discussion, me and Gawie, and he was also a practicing attorney. He was a prosecutor a state prosecutor at some point in time, and he said, well, he always also felt that he was a teacher at heart, and that's something that popped up in our initial discussions when I had our first meeting and interview and everything that goes with that. And I was just like, okay, let's give this a shot. And I remember me and my wife sitting one day, and we had to take this decision together. And I said, listen, love, I'm not a massive fan of what I'm doing now. Here's an opportunity. It's going to pay a little bit less. But I think I should go. And she said, well, what's the worst that can happen? In 2 years' time, you go back to practice, as long as you're not removed from the role of practicing attorneys. If you keep your name on the role of practicing attorneys, then you can go back at any point in time. And to this day, I'm still on the role of practicing attorneys. And I give some legal advice here and there, but I'm so happy where I am. And that just snowballed. And since I've been in this position, I've just grown from strength to strength in relation to my skills and presenting these in the academia, if you can say it like that. So that's just the passion for me, and I just love it. And I'm really glad that this is where I find myself. And in hindsight, not looking back at that, I feel that's a perfect decision that I could have made.
Yeah. Was it an easy decision to make, though, considering that you were just in practice for 3 years? I would understand someone who's been practicing for like 15 years and they decide, I've done this for so long, it has become maybe boring now, or not, try something else. Was it an easy decision for you to make? Didn't it feel like maybe a premature decision to say, maybe let me stay in practice for a couple of more years and see what happens, then I can see later?
Well, that's fair enough. I haven't thought about that in that sense, but I must tell you that I'm the kind of person that I quickly make up my mind, and when it's made up, it's made
Yeah.
up. So, so when I listen, I don't want to sit at this desk for the next 10 years because where I found myself, I looked at the seniors around me, and I thought to myself, these seniors are just punching a clock. They don't have freedom. They don't have time.
Yeah.
I can't see fulfillment in their lives. And I just sat and I thought to myself, listen, is this fulfilling me? Is this making my cup full? And I immediately said, no, it's not making my cup full. So I made the shift. And yes, it's possible that I could have done that prematurely, definitely. Maybe I could have started my own practice or went to
Yeah.
another law.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a different interaction. But like I said previously, if the mind's made up and then it goes on, and I must say, it's not looking back a day in my life. I must tell you one of the fantastic things about academia, and then obviously I can neatly compare this with my other friends that were in a law school with me and that did articles with me. It's the same firm as me, and they're in practice today and they're working 6 to 9. And over weekends, they do a few hours as well just to make sure that they get ahead of the next work week where they are going to work 6 to 9. I'm
Yeah.
lucky. My weekends are basically free for the most part. There's no emergencies that pops up late at night. Gawie never calls me. He sends me emails at 3 o'clock in the morning, but that's just because that's how he operates. He wakes up very early. I mean, I think he goes to bed very early. I'm not 100% sure. But we have our normal work there. I know when I can clock in. There's some flexibility with relation to that.
Yeah.
So a lot of time that I have to spend with my family, and anyone that knows me would know that that is number one on my priority list is being a family man. I love being a dad. I love being a husband.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the best decision. But definitely, that's not going to be the same for everyone. And some of my friends that are in practice say they love it. They love the thrill of working and figuring out these cases and growing. And I'm like, well, good on you. That's for you. That's
Absolutely, man. Would you then say, being in practice for that 3 years influenced how you teach now? Are there any things that maybe you realized when you were in practice that you're now applying in your teaching, in order to help candidate attorneys who are probably at the same position that you were in years ago, whether as a candidate attorney or just a year into you being an admitted attorney? Has that maybe influenced how you teach all these courses with Gawie?
definitely, it had a massive effect. And I think due to the fact that, oh, listen, I was only a small time in practice, but the time that I was in practice, in that window, I was only dealing with candidate attorneys and people that were admitted for 1 or 2 years. The seniors, they didn't spend too much time speaking to us. So we all shared the challenges that we faced in that scenario. And I immediately realized that that's the information that I can lean on. That's the conversations that I can lean on, and hopefully to prepare our candidates that comes through my hands here at the Gawie Institute of Law to prepare them better, because I more or less know that's the lasting interaction I had in practice is these are the challenges that we are facing, that candidates, newly admitted attorneys are facing. And I actively try and resolve those challenges when they come to our institution for some training.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about the PVT school. I think I know you've done the courses for preparation for the competency based exams for some time now, possibly from 2019. But Gawie has only introduced the PVT school last year, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let's talk about that a bit because I've always wondered if going to law school prepares one for practice. In what I actually mean is that, would you recommend for candidate attorneys to do law school first before they find articles, or is it fine for them to just find articles and do law school later, particularly the 400 notional hours one, because that's the one that I feel is more depth, and that's the one you can do without articles first, because that other one is compulsory. You have to find articles first. Would you recommend candidates to do the 400 hours notional hours course first before they go into practice?
So, well, that's a valid point. My opinion with that is it's twofold. It all depends on who you are. Now,
Yeah.
I did the 150-hour course when I did my articles, because I got the
Yeah.
articles beforehand, and then I did my course, which is those days it was 21 days spread out across various months which you needed to attend. Now, you have to tick
Yeah.
that box either way. And now, for me, I'm a person that learns a little bit better when I have some practical element that I can attach there to, which article gives you. If you're in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
stuff, and if you have an excellent principle and everything that goes with that, someone that allows you to grow. And that's what I had. I was extremely lucky to have that.
Yeah.
So that worked excellently, because what I could understand in the PVT training that we had, in the 150-hour PVT training that we had, I immediately took that back to practice, and I went and I practiced in our practice how to draw
Okay.
up documents, and I had discussions actively with my principal. But that's not everyone. Everyone doesn't necessarily like to work in that order in order for them to understand a certain subject matter. So some people
Yeah.
love to sit and go through notes and go through study material and figure it out and go through it themselves. So if that's you, definitely the 400-hour, lot better. There's a little caveat attached there too, and the caveat that I would attach there too, if you're someone that's struggling to get articles, because we all know that's currently a very big problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Initial phase of being admitted as an attorney is to get your articles, is to secure some articles.
Yeah.
Very scarce thing to get. So if you're struggling to get that, do the 400 hours. So then that box is ticked. So then you don't have to worry about that when you get to practice. And I know some principals are extremely happy if you've already done the law school, because then they don't have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
let you go and do that on their time. When you're doing the 150-hour one, if you have to do the attendance one. So then it's a massive plus point for those principals to appoint in such a candidate attorney,
Yeah.
rather
Yeah. Yeah.
than need practical vocational training. So yeah, it all depends on how you learn and what's your way of understanding stuff, and then also whether or not you're able
Mm.
to those articles. If you're not able to secure those articles, it's better to do your PVT, the 400-hour notional one, than just to sit and wait around, because that doesn't help.
Yeah, funny you say that because let me just tell you a story of what happened with me. So, I, out of desperation, obviously, because so many candidates or graduates rather cannot, they struggle to find articles, and it takes. I know people that has taken 5 years for them to secure articles. So in 2023, I got a firm which was in Limpopo, and I'm based in Joburg, obviously, and they gave me an opportunity come and serve your articles with our firm. And I went to Limpopo. It was in February 2023. I went there, and I was there for I think 4 or 5 months, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out for me, and I had to come back. But the reason why I'm quoting this is because when I got there, I had graduated 2 years prior to me securing the articles, and when I got in practice for the first time, I was clueless about what is happening. I had even forgotten, basic court procedure, what happens with summons, what follows after summons have been issued, and all of that. And I didn't look for articles when I came back from Limpopo. That is when I enrolled for law school with Gawie, Roux, and I did my course for that 4 months. And after that, I think a month immediately after I completed, I then secured articles where I'm serving now. And I'm looking at the distinction now. When I went into practice this time, I knew, basics of court procedure, what is happening. And, I didn't have to start from ground up to be explained to say, okay, this is what a summons is. This is when you serve a summons, what follows after that. And that is why I'm bringing a question of whether you think law school really does prepare one for practice. And it's interesting because a lot of people just do it because they just want to cut off the 1 year from from their articles and then remain with one. So I really believe that law school really does prepare one for practice. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's in the name. It's practical vocational
Yeah.
training. Law is practical vocational training. So some law schools provide you with the necessary information just to get you to pass the competency-based exams. In my opinion,
Yeah.
that's just my opinion, that's wrong. They're not there to get you to pass the exams. They're there to teach you how to use your LLB when you get to practice as an attorney. It's a
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like the bridge that
Absolutely.
we have in that practical vocational training. And in that sense, PVT is law school is an amazing is an amazing bridge between those two, because when you're done with an LLB, and I see this, I've been doing, what have I been doing now? 7, 8 years, going on 8 years, and maybe 9 years. I'm not exactly too sure. I've been doing the training here. And the key thing I deal with newbies, which people that has just completed their LLB, they struggle to understand the basic principles, like you just said. My age-old question is, listen, what's the 2 ways in which we can approach a civil court? And then you would find golden key students from Stellenbosch and from UJ and from Tikkies, and they're like, no idea. And I'm like, summons an application. Like, oh yes, of course, a summons an application. All right, so an action application. Then we see, okay, they understand the theory. They understand, oh, there are some elements, but of how do we do it? How do we get a summons issued? What does the summons look like? Those type of things are massively omitted in your LLB, and there's just not enough time in those 4 years to teach you the practical side of. So therefore, I think the requirement from the side of the regulations of the LPC to go through practical vocational training is excellent, and that coupled with your articles is definitely the best way to get you to be a solid attorney when you're eventually admitted.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Johan. One of the struggles that we are facing right now is that we are having, a huge influx of LLB graduates. I was actually speaking to a friend of mine just a few weeks ago, saying in UNISA alone, there's obviously 2 seasons of graduations, and per season of graduation, if you have like your autumn graduation, you'll find that there's more than 1,000, just as a minimum base, more than 1,000 LLB graduates in just one season. If you cap it up to 2 seasons, which is per year, you'll find there's more than 3,000 LLB graduates that are just coming from UNISA. Now, if you add in all of these universities that we have in our country, that's thousands of LLB graduates, and we now faced with a problem where most of them can't find law firms where they can serve their articles in. What do you think is the problem, and how do you think this can be resolved? Should maybe some of these graduates start looking into alternative career options? What is it that they can do with their LLB degrees, or should they just follow their passion and wait until and a door opens somewhere for them to serve their articles?
Oh, that's a very loaded question, but an excellent question. So let's unpack there, and let's just start with that beginning of the amount of LLB graduates. I mean, quick survey. Now, this is to no extent of the imagination a complete survey, but we found that there's about 10,000 LLB graduates per year in South Africa. So people that acted LLB, 10,000 more or less from all the universities across South Africa. According to the stats from the LPC, there's only currently 6,000 odd candidate attorneys registered for articles, and there's only about 33,000 odd active practicing attorneys. All right, so those stats, they don't align at all. It's impossible to place all of the LLB graduates with the necessary attorneys to get those articles done and dusted. So that definitely is a problem that the LPC, I feel, needs to resolve. The best way to do that, I'm not 100% sure. There's a few trains of thoughts on that to say, listen, maybe the Legal Practice Council should have some sort of a practical school where it's kind of like this notional school that we have, plus a form of application where there's a few people, attorneys working to guide all of these various candidate attorneys, and also have them do some pro bono work for stuff like probono.org and stuff like the what's that other legal aid system. So then just to get all of them through so that they can tick that box. So that definitely is a problem. There's way too many LLB graduates. And remember, articles doesn't take a year. Well, for some people it takes a year, for some it takes 2, but there's certain candidates that are stuck and they can't get past that hurdle for 5 years. So we have a lot of, so we've been doing our articles for 5 years because we just can't pass the competency-based exam, or this or that, or whatever their reasons might be. So, I mean, there's a massive backlog that gets created only in that, because now 10,000 graduates this year. but only 2,000 can be placed. So there's 8,000 that's a residual. Then the next year and the next year and the next year, and this is where we find ourselves that there's possibly 50,000 odd LLB graduates that just can't get that articles. And now the fact that there's a minimum salary, which is a good thing, but that not being supplemented, that's also reducing the amount of candidate attorneys being taken in. So now you're placing that burden firm to say, okay, well, minimum now is 8,000 Rand, but we're not subsidizing you. For a law firm to get someone for 8,000 Rand, they can get a paralegal for 10,000 with a lot more experience that's going to actively write fees for them and make some money. So a little bit of a problem there that needs to be resolved, definitely. The lucky thing, and that's the second part that we can quickly unpack, is that if you get your LLB, an attorney is not the only route for you. Okay, now the obvious other alternative is become an advocate. Fantastic. The obvious other alternative is to become a legal advisor. If you have your LLB degree, you can go and work for something like a big bank or an insurance company and those type of things, and then you can be a legal advisor. So it's important that people with an LLB don't have that oversight of, oh, this is blinders on. The only thing that I can do is I can become an attorney. There's a multitude of other career possibilities that you can. That being said, now you said, well, what if it's my passion and I have to become an attorney? Then you'll have to chase it. But then in the meantime, don't stay idle and sit on your hands.
Do something,
In the meantime, if it's possible, get your master's done. If it's possible, do some alternative courses. Differentiate yourself from the crop. Gawie always says, well, there's space at the top. There's always space at the top. So the higher you climb up the ladder, and even the ladder has various steps when we get to a candidate attorney. You get a candidate attorney that just has an LLB. You get a candidate attorney that passed it cum laude. You get a candidate attorney that passed it cum laude, that has an LLM, that has completed practical vocational training. So to differentiate yourself from the rest, that would be a very good place to start. And you can do that by attending a few courses in any event. So you can just say, oh, this basic principles of litigation course. That's another tick. That's another feather in your hat that you can your potential principal. Look, I'm not here to waste your time. I'm someone that you can actively hand over files to, and I can possibly bring in some money into a firm, because at the end of the day, that's what most principals are looking for. They're looking for someone to lighten their burden. So to draw up documents and to review documents and those type of things. But also, if you can bring in a 5 or 10,000 Rand in fees in a month, you're going to look good, as opposed to the other one that's not doing that. But yeah, that being said, there's so many alternatives. Look at me, here I am. I'm an admitted attorney.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's so many things that you can do. I mean, the people that sit in parliament, most of them have LLB degrees. So if you want to be a legislator, you need to have your law degree. If you look at the billionaires in South Africa, a large chunk of the billionaires in South Africa have their LLB training. So an LLB is a fantastic tool to have. So it's a tool that you have, but make sure you have a few tools in your toolbox. I mean, if you take Patrice Motsepe, one of the richest guys in Africa, not only South Africa, in the world, he started with his LLB, and he famously said that the LLB prepared him fantastically for business, because it shows you how to deal with people. It shows you how to negotiate. It shows you how to understand the principles of basic elements such as contracts and those type of things. If you have that little bit of a better understanding than the general person on the street, it's going to help you. So yeah, I always advise, don't put the blinders on. There's so many things that you can do, and go and ask yourself, listen, what do I want to achieve? If I want to be an attorney, fantastic, then differentiate yourself from the other possible candidate attorneys, in the sense that you go up a few steps on that ladder. If you say, oh, I'm not that set on being an admitted attorney, then go and have a look at all the other options available for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the relationship between principals and candidate attorneys. How important do you think mentorship is, during your training? Because you, like I said, you come as a person who just have LLB. Most of graduates, they've even forgotten what they were taught during their LLB studies. How important is mentorship during articles, and what should candidate attorneys look for in principals? I know, unfortunately these days, you just apply for articles, you don't even know the person that's going to train you, and you're just taking that because it's rare to find that opportunity. But how important is mentorship, and what should candidate attorneys look for in a mentor or in a principal?
Yeah, candidates are at a disadvantage. You've duly pointed that out because they are basically in a position, well, take it or leave it, because there's so many other candidates available for this
Yeah,
position.
yeah,
Can't be too picky. But that being said, a mentor is massive. My initial principal, Koos Broderick, is a fantastic guy, and he was an amazing mentor to me. And so much so that till this day, when I still have complex legal questions that I need to figure out, I call him and I say, Koos, are we going to do a coffee? And he's always down for a coffee, and he always has time to
yeah,
sit
yeah,
down and explain everything to me. And he was fantastic in the sense that he taught me a lot of practice. So he would say, draft a summons. I said, of course, I don't know how. So I'll figure it out. And he would say that tongue in cheek. He wasn't being mean or anything like that. And then I would take
yeah,
about
yeah,
draw up and draw up a particulars of claim in a summons, and I would give that to him, and he would say, "Wow, this really is the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life," and he would mark it with a red pen, and then he'd give it back to me. And initially, I thought, "Yes, this guy is mean," and then eventually, I figured out this guy is amazing. He's teaching me.
yeah. Teaching you, yeah.
So a mentor for me, I'm a kind of guy that loves a mentor, even to the day. You know, I've down this road a little bit, but I still have certain people that I still rely on for some advice, that I still go to in various facets of life, not only for law, for my family stuff and for my financial stuff. I still go to people that I look up to in that sense. So that being said, if you're one of the lucky candidates that gets an excellent principal, because not everyone has an excellent principal, and like we said, we don't have the choice, we take what we get. You can still find someone when you're doing your articles, if it's not your principal, you can still find a senior within that law firm. You can still find another junior attorney, maybe as an associate within that law firm to whom you look up to. Just make sure that they have a growth mindset. If there's someone that has a growth mindset and is willing to work with you, even if it's not your principal, attach to them. Take whatever you can get from them, and do that continuously as you go through your career. Get someone that you can always ask for some advice on. Get someone that you will be honest with. And that's I fall back to Chris. He would tell me, "Hey, hold on, this is you're being stupid, or you're doing this, or you're doing that," and he would be blunt about it. But that's our relationship, and that's all good. But I know that when he gives me input, I can take that to the bank and I can use that input.
Yeah.
Mentorship is a massive thing.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about board exams. And the first thing that I really want to jump into is, the attitude that most candidates have towards these exams. I think there's too many voices that are speaking about board exams, and it's obviously experiences of other people. They are telling, oh, paper 3 is the most difficult. Oh, paper so and so is the most difficult. Rather take one, rather take two. What are the common mistakes that you've noticed candidate attorneys are making when approaching these exams?
Oh, at the top of the list has to be leaving it too late. I specifically see this now on all the social media platforms. People asking this, and if I start preparing now, is going to be a sufficient time for me to go and write all four? And in the comments,
See that. I always see that.
at least 10 guys saying yes, definitely. I was like, no, I'm a positive guy. I'm a can-do attitude type of guy, and I'm always like, yes, we can do anything if we apply our minds. But even me, I'm going to say no. 2 weeks preparing for the board exam, you're not going to be successful. Yes, we have those absolute outliers that they're able to pass it by playing 2 weeks beforehand. Yes, definitely they are there. But that's not the general rule of thumb. That's not the yous and the me's of the world. That's just that. So my first bit of advice would definitely don't leave it too late. Right. So I would say at least a month and a half of prep per paper. So there's 4 papers. So that leaves us somewhere in the vicinity of 5 to 7 weeks, 5 to 7 months, depending on how you structure those study times. Because remember, if you're an active candidate attorney, then you have a little bit of a problem, because during the day, in the evenings, you're going to try, but it's not going to be your best work. So you're going to have to leave it up to the weekends. So that means you're going to spend a large chunk of your Saturday, and that means you're going to spend a large chunk of your Sunday. And that's going to require discipline. All right, so that's the key thing that I have to say to all candidates. And is listen, don't leave it too late. Maybe you're that outlier that's able to do it on 2 weeks of studying, but for the rest, don't do that. Make sure that you have sufficient time to prepare for the exams, so to actively sit and study and to take in what you're studying. So this happened to me when I was admitted as an attorney already, and then I wanted to do my notary course, and the notes for the notary, the summary notes are also about 1,000 odd pages. And in the evenings, I would realize, listen, I just don't have the energy to do this. So I had to actively block out each and every Saturday. And yes, I must have lost a lot of fun stuff in that time. But I said, okay, the short-term sacrifice is going to serve a long-term purpose. And that's more or less the mindset that you have to have when you're preparing for your board exams. Yes, there's a little bit of short-term sacrifice. You're going to miss out on some family time. You're going to miss out on some braais and some supporting Springboks, stuff like that. But in the long haul, it's going to be better for you. And yes, those exams, there's 4 of them. Each one finds a different one taxing or difficult. If you're someone that doesn't like figures, then bookkeeping is going to be tough. Bookkeeping is not going to be your friend. All right, so that means you have to spend time with the bookkeeping and trying understanding what's going on there. But if you're someone that had bookkeeping and accounting in school, bookkeeping is going to be a breeze. So then maybe spend a little bit more time in court procedure, or spend a little bit more time in ethics, or this or that or the other. It all depends on themselves. What the main theme seems to be is paper 3. And I think there's 2 reasons. 3 is the most difficult one to pass statistically. Is one, that there's no pattern that can be identified there. If you look at paper 1, we know there's going to high court procedure, magistrate's court procedure, motor vehicle accident, and it's going to. If you look at paper 2, we know L&D massively important. If you look at paper 4, we know the certain bookkeeping elements that we are going to encounter.
Absolutely.
That's not the case. There's no pattern you could identify. There's no, okay, we're definitely going to get a little bit of contract law. Okay, we're definitely going to get a little bit of ethics. Oh, we're definitely going to get the rules incorporated under the code of conduct. There's no pattern. So I think that's one that throws off a lot of candidate attorneys. And 2, just the sheer volume of paper number 3. There's a lot more stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's behind me. You can see the folders behind me. Just one of them is just paper 3 alone.
And that's normally the case for everyone. That is the largest chunk of the work. So, and I think people start to underestimate as well, because now I study for paper 1. I see, okay, paper 1 took me a month maybe to complete, just an argument. Then the rest are also going to take me a month. But then you get to paper 3 and you're right, oh, no, a month is not going to be enough. I need 2 months. Okay, now I'm running out of time. Now I need to cram. Okay, now I need to spot. And then the wheel starts to fall off with that one specifically.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I know there's no, formula in terms of how you can approach these exams, but based on your experience, would you advise candidates to sit for all 4 papers at once, or do you have any advice? Should they maybe do 2 and do 2 next sitting? And how would you maybe combine the papers if you would do, 2 2 first sitting and then 2 second sitting?
Okay. Well, that once again is also a loaded question, because that all depends on a multitude of factors, i.e. the time you have available to study and your general study techniques and your ability to cope under pressure with exams, because it is pressure, there's no doubt about it. But I'm an avid advocate for go and write all 4. What's the worst case that's going to happen? You're going to pass 1, you're going to fail 3. Or you're going to fail all 4. That's worst case scenario. If you fail all 4, you would have failed 2. If you fail all 4, you would have failed 1, whatever the case may be. So I'm an avid advocate. Don't write them all. See what happens. Then at least you know, okay, this is what I can expect if I fail them all. Maybe you pass all 4. Maybe you're lucky and you pass all 4. I was lucky. I passed 3, got an oral for 1, and then I passed my oral. So basically passed all 4. I'm omitting the oral part there. So, yes, I would say go and write all 4. But if you know that that's going to make you anxious, if you know that it's just not going to have enough time, I haven't started to prepare, whatever the case may be, then a good thing that I see these days, a lot of candidates are splitting it up to 2. But I'm concerned with the way in which they're splitting it up, because they're splitting it up paper 1 and paper 3, which is it's court procedure, and ethics, which are 2 very volume intense. And then they go paper 2 and paper 4. For me, that's weird, because 2 and 4 is more of an understanding subject, and if you understand it, it's easier to write. Where 1 and 3 is you have to do a lot of study. So I would rather say do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or do 1 and 4 and 2 and 3.
Makes sense.
That's how I would split it. But first prize, I would say, go and write all 4, prepare for all 4, go and write all 4, see what happens.
Absolutely. If you could give candidates that just started their articles right now, or maybe candidates that are a year into their articles but they are preparing for board exams, what word of motivation you have for them, or any advice, especially for those that are really just starting out and they because of how intense a practice becomes, sometimes you start thinking, maybe law is not for me. And sometimes most of these candidates, they make decisions early in their career and they don't know how it's going to turn out, maybe a year or two into it. So what advice would you have for them?
First bit of advice, stick it out. All right.
Yeah.
As soon as you're admitted as an attorney, no one can take that away from you unless you take it away from yourself. And then you have to open up a nail salon, you have to close a nail salon, and then you have to flee to Miami. We all know what I'm talking about, say that tongue in cheek. But get admitted as an attorney. That's something that mainly no one can take away from you. And then that box is ticked, and it sticks forever. What I see happen, there's students that comes to us, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s. We have now a person completing their PVTs that I think are in their 70s. And they said, well, we completed our LLB, or we completed our legal degree way back when, and then we couldn't secure articles, or we didn't want to work for peanuts, so we said, no, we're going to go into a legal advisory, and now they want to be attorneys because now they have that sense of, I didn't complete that specific goal that I set for myself. And now they have to go back. And now when you're in your 40s, your 50s, or your 60s, and you have to go back to candidate attorney salary. And I know people are working around that, and I'm not going to go into and relating to how they work around that. But now technically you have to go back to that candidate attorney. Then no one's going to do it. So while you still have not too much on the line, and you can bear it, stick it out, get admitted as an attorney. When that's done, fantastic. Immediately leave the firm if that firm is not for you. However, I must say there's an alarming amount of complaints from candidate attorneys which have hostile work environments. And that breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart if these candidate attorneys are being treated worse than dogs, where they are just being emotionally abused and they're being overloaded with work. And if that's the case, then I would say that's the small little exception to maybe finding a way out, or seeding your articles, or getting out of that situation. Because at the end of the day, for me at least, your mental well-being and your mental health is a lot more important. Now, that being said, I'm not a firm believer of people saying, well, I'm suffering mentally because I have to work up until 8 in the evenings, and my life is tough because I have a lot of research and stuff to do. That's part of your initial career. With any career, I find that whether you're in law, whether you're in medicine, whether you're in teaching, you have so much to learn at the beginning. So it takes you so much longer to get through that learning curve. So whether or not you're in the law field, or whether you're an engineer or a teacher, you're going to spend a lot of time after school, after work, after whatever the case may be, to actively understand what it is you're doing. That's normal. We all find ourselves. Then that research time becomes a lot less. So that's why you would see your principal clocking off at 4 o'clock and you think, oh, that's like they've gone through the learning curve. And they know the documents that they are drafting, whether or not it's correct, and what the pitfalls are. We still need to learn that. When you're still young in practice, you still need to learn. I'm 10 years odd admitted as an attorney now. This, I must tell you, is the first few years that I'm sitting in conversations with other attorneys and advocates, and I can actually follow what they're saying. So you might feel, oh, this is horrible, I'm not going to survive. Give it some time, but first things first, get admitted as an attorney. And then if you still feel as an admitted attorney, oh, this is not for me, then you can go and be a legal advisor, or then you can go and be whatever it is you'd like to be. But just get that box ticked, because to go back in 10 years to try and tick that box, you're not going to do it.
Wow, absolutely, man. Johan, this has been great, man. But before I let you go, very important question. what do you want to, have achieved when it's all said and done? What do you want to have achieved in this profession? And number two, what impact do you want to leave when it's all said and done and you say, you know what, I'm done with law. I want to go do something else. I want to retire and go, have a vacation, because you're working for that Mandelas right now and you probably want to spend them later. But when it's all said and done, what do you want to have achieved in your career as a legal practitioner, and what impact do you want to leave?
Wow, that's a deep question. Thank you very much for that, McDonald. So I'm very new, even though I'm 10 years into this game, I'm very still new to the game. Exactly to sure what my legacy is going to be. But I said earlier, I look up to certain role models, and there's no doubt that I look up to Gawie. We have a lot of discussions, me and him, over a coffee and over a breakfast and over this and that. And I say that I like the legacy that he is actively now leaving behind. He can now start to think on that phase of his life where he thinks, okay, I can leave my legacy. I've done what I needed to do. I can now go and play some golf or work in the garden or whatever it is. And when all is said and done, I think I'd like a similar legacy to say, Johan was that guy that bridged the gap for people that had the LLB, for candidates, attorneys, for them to bridge that gap between theory and practice. And they still think about me from time to time when they have a difficult case, or when they have a difficult subject matter, or when they have this and they have that, and they think, that's how Johan explained it. That's my best legacy that I can leave behind, because that's the thing that I have the most passion for, is actively trying to simplify complex legal principles. And if I could get at the end of my career and there's a bunch of people that said, Johan did that for us, he simplified these difficult legal concepts, then I would be happy, and then I would go on easily with my retirement and play a hell of a lot of golf, because that's definitely all I want.
Beautiful, man. Johan, where can anyone watching connect with you? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you a social guy? Can they find you anywhere? And then lastly, if they want to find out about Gawie Roux Institute of Law, where can they go?
Okay. So, well, I am on LinkedIn. I have a very active profile there on LinkedIn, and I love to connect with everyone in the legal fraternity, and even people outside of that, specifically with the students that came through my hands. I love to connect with them. So if you've ever attended one of my courses, or you're thinking about attending one of my courses, please feel free to go and connect with me there on LinkedIn. So I also share most of my research that I do, and articles and whatever the case may be. So that's definitely the best way for you to get hold of me. The best way to get hold of the Gawie Roux Institute of Law is through our website. We have a fantastic website, which we always refer to as our window, our shop. So if you're wondering about any of the courses that we have, go and have a look at that. But Gawie is also very active on LinkedIn. The Gawie Roux Institute of Law is there on LinkedIn, and they're also very active on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not that active on Facebook. It's only photos of my children, but that's not that entertaining for other people. It's just fun for me to look at. But yeah, you can go and connect with the Gawie Roux Institute of Law on LinkedIn as well as Facebook, those social media platforms. I also think we have a YouTube channel now, which would be awesome for them to go and have a look at. There's a bunch of fun little animations coming on that YouTube page that the Gawie Roux Institute of Law has. So you can go and like and subscribe that as well. And you can also like and subscribe McDonald's podcast. That will also.
Thank you.
Plug as well.
Johan, thank you very much, man. This has been lovely. I believe this podcast will be informative for many candidate attendees. I hope they watch it, and I really hope they enjoy it. Thank you for taking out your time. I know you're very busy, man, especially at the season. We're sitting for board exams this week, and I know you're probably getting a lot of inquiries and questions about this and that, so I really appreciate you taking your time out.
McDonald, for you, it's just a pleasure. It's always fun to have these engagements. So thank you very much for having me. It was really a special, and like I said, a bucket list item for me to attend.
No, thank you. Absolutely, man. Wish you the best with everything that's coming, and hopefully we'll see you soon. And I hope our next podcast will be a physical one.
I will look forward to that, but then you have to be an admitted attorney. So best of luck with this last little phase of your candidates. And then one of these days, I just want to speak to McDonald, the attorney.
No, thank you very much, man, Johan. See you soon.
Perfect. Thanks, Cheers.
Cheers.